Hello, everybody. Welcome into our all Linux show tonight with Marcel Gagné, our Linux correspondent and Computer America correspondent. It's all about Linux, everything you want to know about Linux and more. He is here tonight with us for both hours. So if you have any interest in Linux whatsoever, this is the show for you. We're going to be doing everything from Linux to the wine of the month. with
1 minute until showtime.
So sit back, relax, enjoy the show as we begin Computer America.
Where's the IRC channel?
Now we have a different chat.
Yeah, you haven't been on since we did all the altercations or,
thanks for the
alteration.
Yes,
Alterations.
a lot of them.
How do I do that? How do I get there?
Just click on the show lounge, and then you'll see it. Then you can hover over it.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live. It's America's longest-running national radio talk show on computers. Computer America. Hosted by National Craig Crossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello, and welcome into the Computer America show. It's the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. Computer America is heard around the world and coast to coast. And I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And it is the third Thursday of the month, and that means it's time for our all Linux show. Everything you want to know about Linux and more, we're going to be talking about it tonight with our Linux correspondent. But before we get started, we actually have a little bit of an announcement, a little tiny announcement.
This is usually how small announcements start.
Yeah.
With 100-piece orchestras.
Yeah, we got a big congratulations to our webmaster, Aaron, who just popped the question tonight. He is now officially engaged.
to our booking goddess.
Yes, our booking goddess.
We left them alone for about 10 minutes, and they started proposing to each other. It was
what happens. I mean,
not good. It was.
Did they know each other for more than 10 minutes?
I believe they've met, but yes.
Okay.
From a distance. Yeah, exactly. So again.
No, they've been dating for about 2 years, and they just tonight, for some reason that we have yet to discern, he proposed. So congratulations to our Aaron and Carissa from Computer America.
She threatened to leave him, so if he didn't.
Oh, yeah, that'll do it. Yes, the now or never ultimatum, usually followed by the question, pop the question.
Anyway, congratulations to our webmaster and my son, Aaron Crossman. Okay, so congratulations. And he popped the question tonight. There you go. Things move on. Things continue to change.
Are we going to sing?
No, we just did.
I wouldn't even know what to sing for this occasion.
I don't know.
Happy pre-anniversary. Happy pre-anniversary.
How about a pretty girl is like a melody? No. All right. So anyway.
I got it. You remember what's the Christmas movie there? You know about an angel gets his wings. Blah blah blah. Help me out here.
Oh yes.
Oh, Miracle on 34th Street.
No, come on. Not Miracle on 34th Street. Bailey, who runs the savings and loans.
Exactly, yeah. It's I know what you're talking about.
I can't believe we're all stuck on this. This is crazy. It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, It's a Wonderful Life. That's it.
That's
Yeah.
It's a Wonderful Life. They get married. They're outside the door, and then there's the cop, and the other guy. They're standing outside the door. They're going, "I love you truly, truly, dear." So we can all join in there. Ready? All right, everybody. 1, 2. You're not going to join me, are you?
Oh.
I have no idea what song this is.
Oh, for goodness sakes! Why do I even try?
I know exactly.
But
Well-
see, it's not up to us to do the grand romantic gestures for him. That's his job. So
Well,
I believe they were both sitting down to dinner, and he just kind of looked over and is like, "We gotta go get groceries tomorrow. We want to get married. The dog needs to be taken out."
That's
Usual dinner conversation. So it was lovely. It was lovely.
It's a garbage night. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
Garbage.
Well, anyway, that third voice you hear laughing is Marce Gagné. He is the author of several books, including Moving to Linux, Kiss the Blue Screen of Death Goodbye, now in its second edition, and other books include Moving to Ubuntu Linux, and his newest title is Moving to Free Software. He was also a Linux Journal monthly columnist. His column was titled Cooking with Linux. Marcel was also a regular columnist for Linux Magazine, and he was senior editor and columnist for Ubuntu Magazine and a number of other magazines as well. Please welcome author and columnist and now Computer America correspondent Marcel Gagné to the show. Hey, Marcel, welcome into Computer America. How are you?
I'm good, actually. Thank you very much for having me on the show and for allowing me to drink on the show. I actually think it's the reason I come here. No, I'm just kidding.
we won't kick you out, but
Ah.
keep it to a reasonable level, or else we're gonna call the cops.
Oh, okay, I appreciate that. That's fair. I think that's only fair. But anyway, it's good to see you guys. And the third Thursday of the month and all that. It's yeah, it's good to see you.
Likewise.
Shall we talk about arts and entertainment before we actually get into Linux?
Yeah, well,
I want to tell you, I went to see Age of Ultron, the Avenger.
Yes, I saw it.
Have you seen it?
Yes, I have.
Greg did.
Did you see it, Ben?
No.
I did not know.
Oh.
You saw
Have you
Chad.
seen the other Avengers movies? Have you seen Thor, Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, Thor 1, Thor 2, Captain America 1, Captain
yes to half of those.
Half of those. No, you got a lot of catching up to do before you go see Age of Ultron.
For sure.
Oh, and you also have to see Guardians of the Galaxy because there's something in this new Avengers movie that features prominently. There's a big reveal with Loki's staff there, which has something to do with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Really?
Oh, and at the end too. Did you stay until after the end of the movie, Craig?
Yes, I always do for Marvel movies because you know.
All right, good stuff. All right, so you're good then.
Yeah.
All right.
No spoilers, but yeah, I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was very good. I saw it in 3D, and I thought it was well done as they are. And
I read a review. Is the plot of it pretty much Tony Stark tries to save the world but ends up almost destroying the world?
pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think you're oversimplifying things just a little tiny bit there.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
It's like saying, well, World War II, wasn't that like some countries got upset at other countries, and but eventually things turned out right?
It's not wrong.
There's a little tiny bit more depth to it than that, you know?
Okay, fair enough. So, obviously, he skirts this line of not wanting to give spoilers, but at the same time, we like talking about movies on the air. So, what'd you think of it?
Actually, well, it's a Marvel movie. I mean, you kind of leave your brain at the door. It helps. The one thing I think is fascinating. I thought it was a lot of fun. I went with Sally. It was actually my birthday. So Sally actually asked me. She said, "Well, what do you want to do for your birthday?" And I said, "Well, I want to go see Age of Ultron." And she said, "Well, we could do anything. We could go to a nice dinner somewhere. Whatever you want, and so forth. I want to go see Age of Ultron." So we went to see the movie, and yeah, that's what I wanted to do. So we went to see the movie, but we went for the they have these big seats at the cinema. They're the regular seats, and there's the 3D seats, and then they have this theater, which is kind of the high resolution, digital experience, and they have these a high-end sound system in this place, and these big giant chairs, as opposed to the typical seats that you normally have, and you can actually lean back in these, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, I think around
Anyway,
here they
so
call those D-box.
No, D-box are the ones that shake and rattle you the whole time.
Oh,
we
not
didn't
those.
do that.
Okay, so just nice big plushy character. That's good. That's good.
Yeah. So it was fun. I mean, what I like to think about when what I like to reflect about when I go to these movies and so forth is, and to the geeks on the show, I think this is gonna resonate somewhat. When I was a kid and I was reading comic books, I was just a geek. I was this guy who was reading comic books and so forth. Sure, I followed the entire Marvel universe and some of the DC universe. I wasn't quite into DC the way that I was into Marvel, but I followed all these things. I read literally hundreds of comic books over the course of my misspent youth. And now I'm an adult, and they're making all these movies for me. This is so awesome. Isn't it awesome? It's great.
It's almost like the massive audience for comic books grew up and now has disposable income, and they're trying to target an audience.
You think maybe something like that happened? It's and not just that. I mean, I grew up reading science fiction and fantasy, and now all you have to do is, you turn on the television and they're like 20 science fiction fantasy series and another 30 about superheroes and stuff like that. This is a great time to be a geek. I mean, it is fantastic. It's a fantastic time to be a geek. And
Geek has, I was gonna say, geek has somehow become sexy. I don't know how it happened, but being
geeks were always sexy. Actually, there's a website out there called Geeks Are Sexy or something like that. Go look for it. Or Geeky is Sexy or Geeks Are Sexy. I forget. There's actually a site called that. So anyway, I want to raise my glass to all the geeks out there, especially the geeks who went ahead and made all this fun stuff, for the rest of us. You guys all rock, all of you.
Absolutely. And speaking of raising that glass and wine, what is the wine of the month that you've selected?
Well, it's not exactly the wine of the month. It's the wine of the evening. But from your perspective, I guess it's the wine of the month. It's actually it's a French Chardonnay. It's an Yvon Mao French Chardonnay. It's just a nice drinking Chardonnay. Quite enjoy it. I was sort of leaning toward red, but in the end, I decided to go with the Chardonnay, and mostly because Friday night is pizza night. Okay. And Friday night is pizza night, so I'm gonna have red wine tomorrow night anyway.
I see.
You see, I actually think these things through. You think I just come here and I just pour myself a glass and sit down without actually thinking about any of this? But no, I think this through. Tomorrow's pizza night.
Well,
around here tonight was pizza night. Wonderful Works pizza. It was delicious, but I thought once the booze came out, all the plans went out the window. But you apparently made your plans before the booze. That's good thinking.
I think about these things. I do.
Yeah.
I don't think wine is booze, though.
It's not really. Although I did tell Craig that I was. See, you don't think any thought goes into this, but I actually told Craig that I was seriously thinking about bringing down a single malt Scotch instead. I have an 18-year-old Glenlivet upstairs that I was thinking of bringing down, and I didn't do that because it's kind of hard to stretch out a 2 fingers worth of single malt Scotch over the course of 2 hours. So I opt for the wine instead.
Exactly. A little more delicate drink.
Exactly. We're a classy show here.
You say it's not booze, but at the same time, I drink 2 boxes of wine and I'm sloshed. So
boxes of wine, okay.
So to each their own.
I'm French Canadian. I have to drink an awful lot to get sloshed.
Tell me you don't drink wine in a box, though.
Who, me?
I don't drink wine out of a box. No, I don't do that.
I think that they've crossed the line. I mean, the jug was bad enough, but
technically it's in a bag.
The jug. Where do you shop?
They do have that though. I think it's mainly meant for cooking, but they do have jugs of wine. That's true.
Do you remember there was a guy on PBS I used to watch when I grew up. We are going to talk about Linux at some point, I'm sure of it. But when I grew up, I loved cooking shows. I mean, one of the first things I watched when we moved to Ontario, I was 9 years old. I couldn't speak English, but I could watch this guy, the Galloping Gourmet, who just did
yes, of course.
Yeah, the Galloping Gourmet. I could watch that and think it was fun without having to understand the language. And as it turns out, I developed a liking for cooking shows around that time, and I would watch a variety of cooking shows. There was one on PBS called The Frugal Gourmet.
All right. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And like all good cooking shows, he was always drinking throughout the entire show, which is, I mean, it's important, So he drinks throughout the show, but he had this thing in there. He was talking about, everything he cooked practically included wine in some way, shape, or form. And the way that he said it, and I don't have Alzheimer's, I'm coming around to the original thought, which had to do with jugs here. He said, if it's not good enough to drink, it's not good enough to cook with. That's wisdom, my friends.
That's that's a popular theme among many, especially like the television cooks. It's like start with good ingredients, you'll get a good product. Like you start with the best, you're gonna end with the best. But it's something about adding red wine to cooking, and it just reduces and it kind of not loses its flavor, but loses its impact. And it's like, why didn't I just get the $3 bottle of wine instead of using the $20 bottle?
Well, you go into
Ben.
Yes.
Yeah, you go into these like Walmart or Sam's, and they'll have they have this big thing, and the wine is like $3.99 a bottle, But they have the expensive wines there too, though. But they do have the cheapy ones.
Okay, well, Ben's hurting me, so I think we should switch over to talking about Linux because he's hurting me.
So Linux, it's like this new operating system. What's it all about?
Well, hey, listen, for our listeners, let me give you a little directions here, because we have our new website up, of course, and we've added a couple of new things, by the way. And up the upper right-hand corner of our homepage now, we actually have the video, the live streaming video, which you can click on and watch it there, or you can just go to the right after on the menu bar, the show lounge will take you to the full screen video, so you can watch it there as well. So we have a number of ways to see it. But if you go to today's show, it says Marcel Gagné, Linux expert, and you go to that page, you'll see our chat room as well, and we invite you to join into our chat room there. It's right to the right side of the live streaming video, and you can put in a name there, and that'll be the username, and you'll be in, and you can correspond with so many of other listeners who are in the chat room right now. It's a lot of fun. We invite you to join us in the Computer America chat room.
Can I apologize to people for something?
Yeah, sure.
I told people on my Wolf to Lug list and on Google Plus about the IRC channel. So mea culpa, smack me. I apologize to all those people. It is not an IRC channel anymore.
Yes, we have changed. We have changed and moved over to a chat that's called TIO. TIKIO. Tico.
It like Tokyo.
Tokyo.
TLK, yes.
And Marcel is in there as well. He's WFTL. I'm
WFTL.
And the other thing, if you have any comment or question or suggestion for us, we'd love to hear from you. The easiest thing is to pick up the phone, give us a call. 347-884-8881. That's 347-884-8881. That number will get you on and get you through. And again, we have our chat room. We have our live streaming video. That's right, because we are a radio talk show primarily, but we want you to be able to see us, and that's what our live streaming video is all about, because not only can you listen to the Computer America show, you can watch us at computeramerica.com. You can see myself, you can see our guest, Marcel Gagné, and also Ben's screen is particularly interesting because Ben is wearing a fashionable blue shirt and glasses.
Thank you.
But also, you can see everything that we're talking about. We actually has the screen. We have multiple views. You can see different screens that we're talking about, and you can see the demonstrations of any products or things that we'll be discussing on Ben's screen as well. So that's up there, and you can watch that at your leisure. There was one more. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say there was one more thing that I wanted to mention, and that is. Again, the Computer America website is brand new, and we're working out most of the kinks now. We had a little trouble last night because Aaron, our webmaster, was moving.
You're welcome, everyone who experienced the wonderful Computer America outage that was happening. That was a lot of fun.
He was moving us. He was moving us to SiteLock security.
Yeah, you may remember them. They were our guests a couple weeks ago, and I guess we have some sort of partnership with them now, where SiteLock is, here, let me just pull this over onto the video so you can see down here, bottom left, Computer America is now SiteLock Secure.
Yes, exactly.
So you can compare that with Computer America. We have not been compromised by any sort of malware. None of the links pointing out from our website go to any sort of bad material, malware-infested material. It's a little bit more peace of mind that anything that you do in ComputerAmerica.com will not break your computer unless you take one of our recommendations, in which case at your own risk. But the links are all safe.
Yes, all the links are safe, and it is now secure. And as I said, we're continuing to upgrade and add to the website as we did. Also, a little later we'll talk about our contests, and we're making them much more interactive on the website as well. So, and my point here was my other point. If you want to see what we're talking about tonight, if you click on the link that says Marcel Gagné, and you actually go to the show. You'll see the description show. Plus, we have Marcel's comments on tonight's topic in italics, so you can actually follow along with what we're talking about tonight. You can actually see the subjects that we're going to be talking about, and it's right there on our in the show lounge in the description that's there. Now, on top of that, if you go to our Facebook page at ComputerAmerica.com, we have it listed there as well. It's all set up to go. But the actual descriptions you'll see on our show lounge page. You can see the topics of discussion for tonight. But remember, if you have a comment or question, we will interrupt what we're doing and speak with you at 347-884-8881. So let's get started. Now, I understand the message that you wrote to us giving tonight's topic, Marcel, was actually from one of two new distributions you're featuring on the show tonight, right?
Yeah, the people who hang out on around me on the various Linux boards and so forth know that I have this real difficult time committing to a single distribution. In fact, after I've gone about 6 months running a distribution, I tend to start getting itchy. I need to go out and do something else, which is interesting because a lot of what identifies one distribution from another, of course, is the look and feel, the organization, the way they've set it up, and so forth, and also a choice of applications. And of course, if they don't have my applications, I just load them back anyway. So, but of course, I like to switch Linux distributions because I can. It's one of those things. You don't have to spend money to try a new Linux distribution. One of the ones that I keep coming back to all the time is the one that I'm currently running, which is Kubuntu, which is the KDE friendly or KDE centered, if you will, version of the Ubuntu distribution. But partly, I suppose, because I keep coming back to that one, it's awfully familiar. And I just feel like I want to do something a little bit different. I want to try something a little bit different. So I've been sort of shopping around for other things, and I sort of narrowed it down to two new Linux distributions, and this is kind of where I'm at the moment. The first one I looked at, both of them, I should probably say right off the bat that part of my requirement in trying to look for a new distribution was that I wanted it to be a, if you'll pardon the expression, KDE friendly. In other words, I wanted to be one where they spent a lot of time, or they considered KDE primarily in their Linux distribution, and that's because it's my favorite distribution. It's the one that I like to run the most. So that's kind of where I was looking. In the last 18 months, I've run OpenSUSE, which is a very polished, very professional Linux distribution. And for anybody out there who wants something that looks awesome and looks professional, you can't go wrong if you go the OpenSUSE route. Fedora, same thing. Fedora, however, is the little brother or the sibling of Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So if you like the idea of cuddling up to Red Hat, then you might want to look at Fedora. And then of course you've got all the various Ubuntus out there: Kubuntu, Ubuntu, and of course Xubuntu and Lubuntu. All of them focus on a particular desktop, and literally that's what separates all these different Ubuntus from one another. Now there's a what people think of as a kind of a friendlier Ubuntu, in the sense that it includes all the various codecs and so forth in its distribution, and that's Linux Mint. But I've done all those, and I've done, believe it or not, all those in the last 18 months.
Wow.
Yes.
Like, my first question, why? And second question, what? And third question, as a follow-up, like, is it just to try them out is the reason you're switching, or is there an actual practical purpose, or is it just because, hey, you can?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of hey, you can. I mean, let's face it. I mean, a lot of the reason that people listen to this show, that people are into computers and so forth, is because, hey, we like to fiddle. We like to play. We like the technology. We're fascinated by the technology, and you're always talking about new things on the show. New products that are coming out. You'll have Intel or somebody else on. It's like, what are the new cool things that you've got out there? Wearable technology, whatever. It's all, I mean, we like computers because we like this sort of thing. But in the Linux world, of course, I mean, I can download a Linux distribution and not have to pay for it. I mean, if Windows had 20 different versions, all of them a little bit different and so forth, I'd have to pay for all of them. Mac OS, same sort of thing. And of course, you can't get different versions of it, made by different people. So you always get like the specific manufacturer's sort of tweak or take on it and so forth. But as I said, so one of the reasons is because I can. I also like to try out different things because, in a way, it's a way of supporting the people that are working on these projects. If you can talk them up, if you can try them out, if you can see something you like, enjoy what you're working with, and then talk about it, then people try it out. They contribute to the project. They work with it, and so forth. And And when I set up a Linux system, for anybody out there who wants to fiddle with it a little tiny bit, I always separate out my home partition, which is where all my personal data is, from the operating system. Okay, so I can actually break up a section of the disk and say, this is where the operating system, this is where Ubuntu lives, and this is where all my data and all my files and all my things live over here. So setting up a system like that, there's really nothing to reinstalling, blowing away the system partition, and then just logging back into my account, which is still sitting there waiting for me. So it's not just an I can, it's an I can that doesn't require a lot of heartache. I don't have to reformat my disk. I don't have to, I'd be stupid if I didn't back up.
I can't imagine someone going through, a dozen different distributions in 18 months of any kind of Windows platform or Mac platform, because everything would just be wiped, and it would just be a huge pain in the neck to do all the installation, all the updating, that kind of thing. Like, it would be nigh impossible. But I guess with Linux, it becomes a matter of, well, this afternoon, nothing else to do, nothing good on TV. Let's try something else.
It's true, and I mean, some of the guys that are on the channel there, I know have done this. It's like, well, let's just try something different, and you do that, and of course, as I've mentioned before on the show, Linux is available in all these live DVDs. Used to be live CDs, but of course we've gotten a lot bigger since then. We pack a lot more into a disc, so they're available on live DVDs. So at that point, it's literally just a matter of you burn the image to a DVD and you boot up on it, and you can run on it for a while. Craig, this afternoon I sent you an email, right, which I sent from a booted live DVD. I just booted off a live DVD, logged in, brought up my browser, composed an email to you, and sent it out. I did not have to install anything.
And that was wonderful, except one small problem. I didn't get the email.
Well, that's hardly my problem. You didn't get the email? Are you serious?
No, I got it the second time. The first time.
All right.
I blame that on our transition. We were having some problems.
All right. Well, that's good, because the email did work, and I was getting email. I mean, email was coming in, so it was obviously working.
That's right. Exactly. So.
But yeah, go ahead.
No. I was going to say. So you still defer to Ubuntu. That's your.
I sort of keep going back to it because let's face it, there's a lot of inertia behind the various Ubuntus, the various Ubuntus, and because there's a lot of support for it, and there's been a lot of community support behind Ubuntu, you'll find that a lot of the alternative distributions are based on Ubuntu. Okay, so they'll use Ubuntu as the core, all right, because they can. They'll use Ubuntu as the core, but they'll say, I like these core applications a little bit better, so they'll swap out the browser for a different type of browser. They'll decide that, I like a slimmer desktop, like LXDE. I like a slimmer desktop, and they'll swap that out instead of GNOME or KDE or Plasma, and and rebuild their own custom distribution based on that. And if it's a good idea, it catches on, and a community builds around it, and so forth, and then it starts to get increasingly more polished. Linux Mint is a perfect example of a distribution that said, hey, I'll take everything that's good in Ubuntu, and I'm going to add and tweak and change things in a way that I think that a lot of people, maybe not everybody in the world, but a lot of people will really appreciate. And the end of that story is that it is a success story. It is one of the most popular Linux distributions out there. But because Ubuntu does tend to be very popular, and of course it's Debian-based, there are a lot of distributions that are based on that. So you can go shopping around and so forth. So in the end, sometimes I wind up coming back to the various Ubuntus just for familiarity, because it's kind of the core of a lot of these other ones.
All right, the music means we're at the bottom of the hour. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll continue on. This is the Computer America.
So quick.
It's our all Linux show with Marcel Gagné. Lots more coming up. Stay with us.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-866-663-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So, disable the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99 and up to 4 rooms. And there's no equipment to buy. That includes your free HD TV upgrade, your free DVR upgrade, and your free professional installation. And the best part, the pristine digital picture and sound. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV. So, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV. 1-866-663-MY-TV. Disable the cable, cut costs, and get more. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV. 1-866-663-MY-TV.
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they're available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com.
Aha! This is Marty Winston with a News Hits Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time the Antec Cooler. That's K-U-H-L-E-R. The Cooler H2O 1250 Liquid Cooler. A car's radiator helps cool the engine by circulating water through the engine, then into small pipes behind an area of metal fins with a heat exchange assist from a big set of blades driven by the appropriately named fan belt. Fins and fans have always been the basis of CPU cooling, and in some cases, pumped fluids as well. Antec sent the king of their liquid cooler line, the Cooler H2O 1250, with dual plus-size pumps, dual 120 millimeter, 600 to 2400 RPM fans, and a 4.7 by 11-inch radiator permanently sealed for no user maintenance. You can either replace dual case fans or mount this piggyback behind them, and you can configure its cold plate heads bracket for most current AMD or Intel CPUs. The copper plate on the CPU face of the head helps heat transfer, and its top side has a multicolor LED that you can use its software to configure to show thermal status at a glance. Bottom line, the Antec Cooler H2O 1250 liquid CPU cooling solution stays quiet most of the time, but may speak up if your overclocking goes crazy and you thermally abuse the CPU. This is Marty Winston with the News Tips Bullet Review for Computer America.
Just like Marty Winston there said, welcome back to Computer America.
Yeah.
And it's our all Linux show tonight. Marcel Gagné is here with us. We were just getting into why he fears commitment and how Ubuntu will always be.
I'm talking operating system commitment, just for the record.
That one. I'm sorry if that was a little ambiguous. How Ubuntu will always be his home plate. But, yeah,
well.
No. Go ahead.
You know, that changes over time as well, though. I mean, way back when, a million years ago, when I started out, I was running Slackware, and then from Slackware, I moved over to people won't remember this one, but something called SCO, and and then I moved over to Red Hat, and then from Red Hat I went over to Mandrake, which became Mandriva, which became anyway. It's gone through a lot of iterations, and then I started getting into OpenSUSE, and then I got into Fedora. So over the years, I've sort of I get hooked over different distributions at different times. This is my conscience, by the way.
So many gangs. That's crazy.
But anyway, no. So I have lots of toys on my desk. What can I tell you? But I have moved from distribution to distribution. But I do enjoy playing with something that I think is just slightly off the mainstream, just a little bit. Partly because I like to see what people are working on. When I wrote Moving to Linux, Kiss the Blue Screen of Death Goodbye, I took a distribution called Knoppix, and I spun my own version of Knoppix, which is written by Klaus Knopper, who's done a brilliant job with Knoppix over the years. It was one of the first and best bootable CDs that you could run entirely from the at the time from the CD. So I took his and I remastered it, including various pieces of software that I wanted to talk about in the book and so forth. And for the purpose of the books that I was putting out at the time, I was spinning up my own Linux distribution, so one person could do that sort of thing. So it's nice to see people who are passionate enough about this sort of thing to to go out there and try to improve on what other people are doing. And frankly, I think that's part of the heart of the open source movement of open source software, and Linux is. We all contribute, and we somebody says SCO or Caldera. Ken, it was SCO, not. Oh, you're right. It was Caldera. Whew, you're right. Wise man. It was Caldera. It wasn't SCO. SCO bought it later. No, it was Caldera. Anyway, I digress. So it's nice to see what other people are doing. It's nice to see what they're passionate about and how they are trying to improve something that frankly is pretty damned awesome to begin with. The two that I looked at, so I decided that I was going to get something that was based on Plasma, on KDE Plasma. So I looked at two of them. One of them was called KAOS, which I suspect is pronounced chaos, and I like it just for the name, Chaos.
Sounds organized.
I don't know. There it is. Chaos, elegant simplicity. The idea there, the premise behind that one was let's build something on KDE Plasma, but let's make it as lean and slick, as possible, pulling together what the designer saw, or the designers the team saw as best of breed for particular types of software. For instance, they use Cupzilla, QUPzilla, as the browser as opposed to Firefox or Chrome or something like that for the default browser. And again, right there, the idea was, well, let's take a obviously we want a graphical browser, but we want something that's lean and mean and fast. And that's kind of the design philosophy behind it. So I played with that for a little while, and remember, I did this off the live DVDs as opposed to installing it. Partly because I'm trying to get the feel for which one, for what I like best to decide what I'm going to install. Because though I may be afraid of operating system commitment, I will commit for at the very least, a couple of months. So whatever I install, I will keep for a couple of months.
But then
so that was. Sorry, go ahead.
But then you go back to Ubuntu.
I may not. I may be bored by that point, and decide that I want to go and ride along with Fedora for a couple of years. So who knows? I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I had a thing for RPM-based distributions, the package manager, which is how software is distributed on these different Linux distributions, and for years it had to be an RPM-based distribution, which is why I was using Red Hat or Mandriva or something like that. I just really, really liked the RPM package manager. And then at some point I started thinking that apt was a pretty awesome package manager, which is when I actually started dipping my my toes into the Debian Ubuntu waters and so forth. But nevertheless, so I played with Chaos for a bit, and Chaos is nice, but I don't know that it's going to capture my attention enough to install it for a couple of months. So if the Chaos guys are out there listening, if the team is out there listening, give me a reason to hang out. We'll find it. The other one I tried.
It looks pretty sleek. It is sleek. They've definitely achieved that part of their mission goal, which is to make something very clean looking. I'm sure anyone who comes from a Windows background would be right at home, but I just looking through the images here, and I think you're right. Like it looks nice, but I just don't. It's hard to see where they stand out.
Well, where they stand out is I mean, because they're basing it on Plasma. I mean, it does look. It's going to look slick. I mean, the underlying. The underlying desktop itself, the desktop environment, is going to feel slick. And of course, they have decided that they're going to concentrate on Qt or Qt-based apps and so forth. For the stability and for the look and feel and so forth. So it's a good idea. I honestly think that they've got a good idea there, but. I don't know that it's what I want, despite the fact that, as I said, if I pick a distribution, for instance, that that decides they want a particular camera application, for managing your photographs and so forth, and I don't like that, I'm going to download and install what I like anyhow, which tends to be Digicam. It doesn't matter what they install. I might play with the other software, to get the feel of it, to see what they've done with it, and to be perfectly honest, to see how it's changed, because these things do change over time, as with any piece of software, even commercial software. People improve them. They add new features. They take, suggestions from their user base and so forth, and they modify them, to take advantage of developments and new features. Excuse me.
That's okay.
All right.
So, it looks nice, but I'm not sure that that's going to be it. Now, the other one that I looked at, because I said I was looking at two, I may well jump on this one because I think it's pretty cool. It's called Netrunner, Netrunner, and I'm sure that you've got the link in the show notes there, netrunner-os.com. And what's really interesting about Netrunner is they have a stable distribution, they have a development distribution, but they also have a rolling release, which is like bleeding edge. It's like the latest and greatest, the new technology and so forth. Now, what's fascinating about it, first of all, it has a great name. Okay, I would go for the rolling release because I'm always running a beta operating system anyway. I mean, it's just, sometimes I even run alpha. So I'm going to go with Netrunner 16 if I'm going to do anything. But it's called Ozymandias.
Oh,
that's the name of it. You know how Ubuntu's got all these things. Perky Penguin and stuff like that. They should have gone for Penguin. I wanted them to do Perky Penguin. They didn't, but they should have gone for Perky Penguin. Anyway, so they've got all these names. This type of animal. Perky Penguin, whatever. But this one, Ozymandias. I am Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look upon my works, ye mighty, and despair.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a cool name or what? It's worth it just for that.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's worth it for a bit. We talked about Elementary. Somebody in the channel is talking about Elementary OS. That's Ken. Beautiful Linux desktop. We talked about Elementary OS on the last show, didn't we?
Yeah, I think that's where either he heard about it or contributed there.
Yeah, I didn't jump the gun at that point, but I did play with it, and I thought it was kind of cool. But alas, I didn't decide to jump with that one. But now I'm starting to get the ants in my pants. I'm gonna have to do something. So I think it's probably going to be Netrunner.
So you said you found it elementary?
What's that? Sorry?
I said you found it to be elementary.
Yeah, that's fun.
If I had a cymbal and a set of drums here, I'd give you the boom boom. Ksh.
Now we can accommodate you.
There we go. High technology.
Yeah.
You can pretend I did that for you, okay?
That's fine, thank you.
All right. Netrunner.
Yeah.
Netrunner. Netrunner is just kind of beautiful. It's I'm not kidding. It's kind of gorgeous. They've taken the Plasma desktop as their base, and they've themed it, they've tweaked it, they're using big, bold, shiny icons, to represent applications and so forth. It's gorgeous. It's really, really quite beautiful, and I have to hand it to them for that. So I think I didn't want to do it tonight because despite my
propensity.
Do we have a screenshot we can put up of Netrunner behind you, Ben? I know you're on the website. Do they have an actual screenshot of it? What it looks like?
Well, I mean, all these are essentially screenshots of the operating system. Let's see. Well, and I guess the operating system itself, just like the GUI, can be configured to any way you like it.
It can, but the way that they organize the desktop, the way that they've decided to organize things, to lay things out, and so forth, it does make a difference. I mean, it does make a difference in terms of the experience and so forth. So if you go and take a look at the screenshots for Ozymandias, you'll get an idea, and and it's not like. Although you may be using some of the same applications and so forth, because you can, especially in KDE Plasma, you can tweak to your heart's desire. Somebody who's got a good hand, who's got a good eye for for the way things should look, can produce something that is beautiful to work with, is nice to work with. And I mean, a perfect example of that, of course, is, and Craig's going to be happy that I'm going to say this, is Mac OS. Yeah. I mean, these guys know how to make something look really, really nice. Now, it may not be anything I actually ever want to use, but it looks awfully nice. Sorry, I find Apple frustrating to work with. I really, really do. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I mean, it really is. They've got some talented people, who are out there trying to make sure that it looks nice. Netrunner is gorgeous, and it's KDE Plasma, which is my favorite Linux desktop. And so tomorrow I'm probably going to wipe my system partition and install Netrunner. So for the development team for Netrunner out there, I think you're the winner this month, or for the next couple of months anyway.
Yeah, and just poking around their site, I mean, let's see if I can find it here, the main edition, they have a whole, I don't know if this is a package or what, but do you know if the Steam gaming client comes prepackaged with this?
It does. It actually does. It's installed. It's already pre-installed. That was that's one of the cool things. I did mention the idea that part of what goes into making a distribution, a great distribution is, your choice of applications. It's like, the base applications and so forth, what people are going to find useful to work with. And yes, Steam is included.
Well, that is nice.
Mm-hmm.
But you wouldn't call it necessarily a gaming Opera OS, would it?
I don't know if that's the way that they sell it. I personally wouldn't. That's not the way that I would take a look, or that's not the way that I'm thinking about it. I'm actually thinking about it as the desktop that I use, day to day.
Okay.
So I'm not for me anyway. That's not the way that I look at it. But yes, it's got the Steam gaming client. It's like I said, it's got the KDE desktop and so forth, Firefox, Thunderbird, LibreOffice. It comes with Skype installed.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay?
Yeah,
which is kind of nice. I said that I probably at some point wanted to talk about instant messaging, but Skype is, let's face it, Skype is one of those things that's kind of ubiquitous. I mean, the clients that I work with, a number of them use Skype on a regular basis. I've got Skype on my Android tablets, on my phone. It's everywhere. So it's one of those things that I kind of want on my Linux distribution anyway. And if it's not there, I'll go look for it. But it's there and there. The other thing that Netrunner includes by default, which I think makes it a winner for people who might want to try it, comes with VirtualBox. So if you want to install Windows or you want to try out other Linux distributions and so forth, they've already provided it. It's already sitting there. You don't have to go looking for this thing.
Are you saying so you don't need Wine then to?
Well, it comes with Wine too.
It does. The difference between Wine and VirtualBox is Wine is a layer that allows. Wine is not an emulator. Wine is a layer that allows that interprets the API calls and the device calls and so forth, that allows Windows applications to run on Linux.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to run Windows in VirtualBox, you're actually installing Windows, which means you actually need a licensed copy of Windows. Because of the people that because of the customers that I work with in my computer consulting business, I have various Windows distributions installed in VirtualBox as well. I have Windows Server 2012. I have Windows 7. I have Windows XP, and I have a copy of Windows NT for a customer that's still running Windows NT applications. Seriously. So you're actually running a full Windows distribution that way.
It sounds to me that it's very similar to what Parallels is on the Mac platform.
It is, absolutely. VirtualBox is very much like that. However, you can get VirtualBox to run under Windows. I don't know if it runs under Mac. I can't speak for that. But VirtualBox is available for Windows, which means you could run a Linux distribution under Windows. Right. And, of course, it's available for Linux, which means you could run any number of different operating systems.
And with Parallels, you can run virtually any distribution for the PC on your Mac, because you're running, you can run Linux straight like that if you want to. Although sometimes I wonder, because there are so many Linux distributions for Mac that are native.
Yes.
So, but at the same time, you can do that. And the nice thing about with Parallels is that you can run them concurrently. You can run them at the same time and move information from one to another, or run it in such a way that you don't even know what an operating system you're in. It all runs.
Well, you can do the same thing with VirtualBox. VirtualBox can access USB devices that are plugged into the system. It can you can set up shared drives so that you can move data from the virtual operating system, the virtualized operating system, to your own operating system. Every time I set up a VirtualBox, like an operating system in VirtualBox, I have a folder. It's almost like Dropbox, really, when you come right down to it, except that it's local. You've got this one folder that is shared across all these different distributions and all these different operating systems and so forth. And of course, if you need to move things back and forth, you can.
Okay. All right. Good.
So yeah, no, it's really, really well thought out. I confess I'm really, really impressed with it. And like I said, tomorrow I'll install it, and you can talk to me next month, and we'll find out whether I'm actually still running it at that point. but at the moment it looks awfully promising.
Yeah.
The other thing that's really interesting, and I'll say this now because, of course, we mentioned Ubuntu. I said, a lot of these distributions are based on Ubuntu. This is going to be kind of cool for me, I think, because Netrunner, like Chaos, the other one that I talked about, is actually based on Ubuntu, unless unless you're running the bleeding edge rolling distribution, Netrunner 16, which is the one that I actually want to run. That one is actually based on Arch Linux.
Okay.
So it uses a different package manager, a different delivery system. So I think that'll be fun. So there you go. So that's my fun, operating system thing, and what I plan to play with for the next little while.
All right. Okay. So Chaos and Netrunner.
Chaos and Netrunner. Those are the two. I highly recommend, especially for anybody who might have hardware that isn't quite as powerful. You might want to take a look at Chaos because it's still a beautiful looking distribution that's focusing on being lean and mean. So if you don't have quite the horsepower, take a look at it anyway because it does look nice. And I did enjoy the short time that I was playing with it. So.
All right. Well, good. All right.
There you go.
All right.
Okay, I want to. We're not going to a commercial break here or anything, are we?
Only about 2 minutes, and I want to kind of tease a couple of things.
Okay, go ahead.
Marcel evidently has to tell us about a computer system that runs Linux. But wait for it. This computer system cost $9. $9. Like a $9 computer system that runs Linux.
I think I've eaten burgers that cost more than that computer. I have.
Yeah.
And I've also eaten computers that cost more than burgers now. So that's good. That's good.
That's it. Also, we're gonna talk a little bit about business Linux. We're gonna take a closer look. Converting a Microsoft SQL Server database application to Oracle's running under Linux. This is one of the things
that sounds like a hoot.
Yeah,
can't wait for that one.
And then also games, board games.
The last art of the board game is actually very entertaining.
We'll see if we get there.
Yeah. And then instant messaging with a focus on security. That's with a capital S. Yes, security. Okay. Plus, we're going to have some news. Linux.
Yeah, I honestly, I really hope that we can get to the news because we have some of these obviously Linux-based news stories, but they sound awesome. Linux-based rifle, Edward Snowden, always fun, and I know you want to talk about the DRM with the John Deere because we talked.
Yes, I do.
But I don't think we ever got really into it, and that's a really important one. So, and then there are others, but. Yeah.
And I also had a question on Google Plus from somebody who wanted me to chat about something. So we need to address that question. We can't forget that we have listeners out there who have questions.
Yes, exactly. 347-884-8881. We'll get you on and get you through. That's 347-884-8881. And of course, you can also join us in our live interactive chat room from our homepage at computeramerica.com. Just click on the Show Lounge selection, and it'll take you there, or you can, if you hover over Show Lounge, you see the option going to a full screen chat. By the way, when you're on our homepage, a couple things. We have these title cards going about, and if you see Marcel Gagné, there are dinosaurs on his title card. We want to know why are there dinosaurs on your title card?
Because I love dinos. I love dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are awesome. I mean, that's really the reason. We have a park up here called Canada's Wonderland, which I take the kids to almost every year, a couple of times every year during the summertime.
And there are dinosaurs there?
They're dinosaurs. They have a dinosaur park that you can walk through. It's really kind of awesome. It's an extra fee on top of your park admission and so forth.
They have some. Does this mean that you're going to go see the new Jurassic Park that's coming out?
Oh yes. I was chatting with a friend of mine, my buddy Rob Sawyer. We were at his house a couple nights ago, and Rob Rob's a science fiction writer, and but he loves dinosaurs as well. He's totally into dinosaurs. In fact, he's written science fiction novels featuring dinosaurs. So he loves dinosaurs, but and he has dinosaur models around his apartment and so forth. You know, I have toys, he has toys. You know, that's why we get along. Anyway, but one of the things that's been discovered lately, that's been uncovered, dinosaurs uncovered, is that we're finding just how closely related they were to birds, and a lot of dinosaurs we now know were feathered. Okay, even the mighty T-Rex, was probably a feathered dinosaur. And just recently there was an amazing discovery that out west here in Canada, and I'm trying to think, it might have been in Alberta, but somehow I don't think it was in Alberta. I think it was in Manitoba. But they discovered some samples of amber that actually had dinosaur feathers in the amber, preserved in the amber. It is seriously awesome. So the idea that some of these dinosaurs weren't just, they didn't just sport a couple of feathers. They were like feathered, creatures. The Velociraptor was a feathered dinosaur.
It takes a little bit away from the T-Rex that we see in like the old Jurassic Park, but like imagine it with like a cockatiel feather.
No, it's like a giant murderous chicken.
We don't talk to AFC about that.
It doesn't get more awesome than that. A giant murderous chicken.
Yeah, can you imagine that?
Sorry, I have to control myself here.
Exactly. All right, listen. We're gonna take a short. Yeah, we're gonna take a short break here from this, but we're gonna be right back with these stories and more coming up in the second hour of the Computer America Show with Marcel Gagné. He is our Linux correspondent. Basically means he is a Linux expert, and he knows he's probably forgotten more about Linux than most people will know. So, and he's here, and we're talking about all these great stories. If you want to call,
it's fine. It's in the patch notes. We got it.
347-884-8881. You listen to the Computer America Show. We will be right back.
Broadcasting live, it's the only national radio talk show on computers to air every weeknight. Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. The first hour's behind us, but there's still more of tech news, tech talk, and your phone calls. We're being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. You got computer problems? Bring them on. You're listening to Computer America. Computers run the world, and we run computers. Call us or send us an email to live@computeramerica.com.
Hello and welcome into Hour 2 of the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. This is the Computer America Show, and I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And we continue on. We're doing our Linux show with Marcel Gagné. I just want to take a quick moment here to tell you a little bit more about our new website at computeramerica.com. If you go to under the pull-down menu, you'll see one of the things is called syndication, and you click on that, you'll see all the different places that you can listen to the Computer America Show. Blog Talk Radio is there. Now, here's the other thing. For those of you who listen to us on the IRN radio network, the Internet Radio Network, they have just been recently now have a new outlet. You can now listen to us on the TuneIn Radio Network, and the reason I'm mentioning this is that the TuneIn Radio Network has an app that you can download, which I did. And
no, we're going mobile?
Yes, we
already are. How will the world get anything done?
Yes, but if you're watching us, there's the mobile app. That's the TuneIn Radio app right there. You see it, and you hit that. And you look for IRN. You can search for networks, and then you can take us with you wherever you go, right on your iPhone. You see, okay? They have and also it's available on the Android platform too. So if you have an Android phone or you have an iPhone, you can listen to Computer America through the IRN Radio Network, which is now also broadcast to the TuneIn Radio Network. So you download the TuneIn Radio app, and you are golden. You can listen to us wherever you are at any
Not saying it's not awesome that we're finally on mobile devices, but I do want to say that maybe we need to work on that a little bit, going through 3 or 4 different layers of apps just to get to Computer America. Not ideal, but hey, at least now you can get us through mobile. That's good.
Yeah, you can get us on mobile.
No, through mobile live. Not you could always get us, through downloading our shows later on, but live, that's new.
Yeah, that's new, and I just wanted to mention that's up and running. And I wanted to validate everything, so I went ahead and downloaded it on the iTunes platform for iOS, and I don't have an Android phone, but I assume that.
But it works on Android.
Yeah, it does, and you can listen to Computer virtually.
Luckily, though, there's only about 17.3 billion Android phones, so someone might be able to use that.
All right.
And for the record, Android is Linux. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
All right. And of
For
course,
all you people who don't think you're actually running Linux, yes, you are.
Yes, and those dulcet tones that you're hearing is from our Linux correspondent, Marce Gagné, who continues
Good evening.
Here on the Computer America program. And we did some interesting first-hour stories, but we teased a couple of things that we're going to be talking about. And I want to start off this hour with a computer system that runs Linux.
Oh wait, before we get on what Craig was about to get started with, are you sure you don't want to go to the question that our listener had, just so we get that out of the way and don't forget it later on?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's do that. Let's do that. We would be remiss otherwise.
All right, go ahead.
Or I would be remiss otherwise. Quan Lo over on Google Plus actually, as it turns out, asked a couple of questions because he just asked another one. But the first question he asked was, open source is everywhere today, but it seems that the level of community involvement is dropping by some metrics. Is that a concern? Is that a valid concern? There was a report written about community involvement and software and open source projects way back when on the MIT website. In fact, if you want to take a look at it, I suppose I could link to it because it's interesting reading if you are into lovely historical documents. I'll just put it in there in the proof. There you go. Anyway, it talks about the life cycle of open source projects in a lot of cases. And what you've got, I chatted with a friend of mine who's actually an open source developer before I came on the show. We talked about this just for fun. My buddy Jason Kendall, who has been a contributor to a number of open source projects, including the Joomla content management system. He's also a security specialist. But we were talking about the idea that, is the bloom off the rose in open source development and so forth. And I think if you take a look at the life cycle of a lot of projects, you find out that in the beginning somebody has an idea, and if the idea is a good idea, then it catches on and other people sort of jump in, and then other people jump in, and then you get through this phase of this, this frenzied massive development and so forth, where it looks like, everybody is involved in this thing. And then if it's really, really valuable and it starts to enter the mainstream, a couple of interesting things happen. First of all, the people who looked at it as a hobby project, who looked at it as, something to, to put their stamp on and so forth, they tend to sort of fall off. Okay, so that part of the community starts to fall off a little bit. But another thing that happens that you don't see because you don't think of it as part of the community is that commercial organizations will get into it. On the last show, I threw out a piece of trivia. I said, who is the #1 contributor to the Linux kernel? And of course, people go, is it Red Hat? Is it Ubuntu? Is it, something like that? Is it some community group or something like that? It's Intel. And IBM contributes an incredible amount, and Google contributes an incredible amount. These are businesses that have seen the value of these open source projects, and they've gotten involved. So all of a sudden, the project isn't so much, is no longer just a community project, despite the fact that the community can still be involved in it and can still contribute to it and so forth. But commercial, but a lot of commercial development starts to go into those projects and so forth. So it may feel that way, but in a strange sort of way, that's a mark of the success of a lot of these open source projects, if that makes any sense. I asked Jason about that. I said, "What about you? You know, how are you contributing?" And he said, "I still contribute to tons of open source projects." And he's got his own account on the Git repository, and all the various projects that he contributes to. So you've still got a lot of people out there. But I think what happens is when a project starts to mature, and it's more a question of polishing rather than introducing all sorts of new and interesting features and so forth. I think that's when you start seeing the drop-off in community. So I think the community is alive and well, and projects continue to appear and continue to surface. But the ones that you think of as the success stories may look like they've been abandoned by the community, and that's really not the case. It's just that there's a new group of people that have seen value in it, and they're starting to contribute as well. They're the people that you don't necessarily think of as the community. I don't know if that helps.
Okay, I'm sure it did.
Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, made sense to us.
And seriously, new projects are born all the time. I mean, there's always somebody out there who has an idea and he goes, "Well, wouldn't it be cool if we could do this?" And they dive into it. And of course, the new Linux distributions is a perfect example of that. It's like somebody somewhere has an itch that they want to scratch, and that has always been the basis of open source development. I have an itch. I want to scratch. I'm going to work. I'm going to create this new project to take to deal with that particular itch.
All right. We have a caller.
Hello, caller.
And his name is Shane, and he has a question for you. Computer America, Craig Crossman. Hey, Shane.
Hi, Craig.
Hi.
My question for Marcel has to do with the Chromebooks that are currently out, and I was wondering his thoughts on whether or not they'll truly ever catch on, being that there is no current or known future support for media formats such as playing DVDs, even with an external drive. There's no codecs in place for that. So do you believe that that the Chromebook will ever truly catch on like MacBooks or Windows-based OSs without the ability to have full media usage?
That's a good question, and I'll answer that by saying that the Chromebooks have already caught on. They're hugely popular. They outsell a lot of the biggest names in terms of portable systems and so out there. The thing is, I don't think the people who are developing the Chromebooks are working on the premise that they need to be able to support all those things in the same way that Apple isn't going to support everything and Windows isn't going to support everything. They see their platform as a gateway to the web. Okay, which is kind of what Google's business is. We're going to give you a laptop or a notebook which gives you access to Google applications, or for that matter, to any internet-based application. And for a lot of people, that's enough. They can stream all their content online. They can watch their YouTube videos. They can send and receive emails. They can produce documents, spreadsheets, etc. All through this particular device without having a huge amount of local storage. In short, they're living online. I know people whose entire computing platform is a smartphone. That is the way they access the internet, the way that they send and receive emails, the way they watch videos, Netflix and so forth. Their net phone is their gateway to the internet. Recently, as in about a month ago, I bought a new notebook for my son, for my 10-year-old son. And I bought it to take care of some of the applications that he was working on at school. what shocked me, I didn't even notice this until I went to install Linux on it, was it had no DVD. And that blew me away. The idea that I could buy a notebook and, it wouldn't have seemed odd to me to buy a Chromebook and not have that in the device, because the Chromebook is a device built to satisfy a certain set of needs while ignoring a number of others. I mean, they know, frankly, they know exactly what they're doing in that respect, and they've done well by that. But this notebook was a classic notebook. It ran Windows 8.1, which obviously is no longer there, and I loaded it up with Linux. But I had to create a USB key with Linux and use that USB key to boot off of to install Linux on the notebook. It blew me away. I don't remember a time in recent history where you would buy a notebook that didn't have a CD or a DVD drive. So I don't know if that answers the question, but I think Chromebooks are extremely successful, and I think they're doing extremely well and will continue to do well precisely because of that. They're not trying to do everything for everyone. And if I can use the cell phone as a parallel, the smartphone as a parallel for just to wrap that one up, smartphones don't have support for every imaginable codec, and they don't have access to external devices like a CD drive. And they don't have USB ports for the most part, and yet they satisfy the computing needs of a large number of people.
Okay, Shane.
Does that work, Shane?
Yes. I do have one further question, if I may.
Sure, go.
Sure.
To support such media, because I think I agree with you, Marcel, with the Chromebook. It's a very niche crowd that just wants access to online features. That I will not argue with at all. But the fact that you have to upload everything to Drive, because typically the storage space on your Chromebook is so small, I mean, it really limits. Even if you through a flash drive and you upload it. How can I word this? You upload it to Drive. I mean, you have a limited space, and it has to be in a certain format. I mean, isn't it in Google's best interest to make it fully media compatible for their users? I mean, because these they come with HDMI ports and the whole 9 yards. But it's just not really media friendly. I mean, how can they do this to help? I mean, wouldn't it help them to make this a priority?
The biggest surprise market for Chromebooks has turned out to be students, like university students, college students, and so forth. They are huge users of Chromebooks. Schools are huge users of Chromebooks, partly because for a lot of students, the lessons they're working on, the stuff they're working on is all collaborative, so it all lives online anyway. So they don't actually really care about the need for a lot of local storage. If they need local storage, they probably have a different device at home to make up for that anyway. I tend to think of a Chromebook as kind of an in-between device. I don't know that I'm sure there are a lot of people that use it for everything, but I could see myself using one, to work on a document, for instance. I have a notebook here that has like a terabyte of storage on my notebook, and I've got and it's got 6 gigabytes of RAM, and and it does have a DVD drive and every conceivable port that you can imagine and so forth. But I don't see that that's absolutely necessary for everyone. And you said they don't have like huge media support, but what they have is YouTube, and and for a lot of people, that's how they consume their entertainment and their media, is through something like that. Google has Play Music, which provides, for a subscription, I grant you, but provides pretty much, it's not the sum total of all, of all recorded music on the planet, but it's an awful lot of what I may want to listen to at any given moment. And I confess, I have a tablet in the kitchen. I have an Android tablet in the kitchen, which is hooked up to some external speakers, and pretty much all it does its entire life is it has Google Play Music up on it, and I go in there and I turn on the music in the morning. I don't even really turn on the radio. I turn on the radio to listen to CBC News Update, and then I put it on Google Play Music after I've got my news update, and that's how I consume my music these days. Again, I don't think Google is trying to be everything to everyone. They're just trying to take advantage of most things. And I'm just going to finish this up with just one last point. When they decided they weren't going to support Flash anymore, on YouTube, a lot of people went, "You're not going to support Flash anymore? That's lunacy." Except that nowadays, there aren't a lot of people who actually really want Flash. I personally know I hate Flash. I still like having it on my PC because I don't want to be blocked from anything. But for a lot of people, it's no longer a big deal.
Right, and HTML5 browsers all support, do everything that the Java and Flash would do anyway. So.
True, but what Shane is saying is that you don't have a lot of local storage. But again, I think for a lot of people, they live in the cloud, so they don't really care.
All right, listen, Shane, thanks for calling, and hopefully that answers your question. Keep listening, okay?
All right, thank you.
I tell you, bye-bye.
Thank you for calling, Shane. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Java Beans in the chat room, by the way, said that it was a comment on Chromebooks. He says a lot of charter schools are now using them as well. So just thought I would throw that into the.
Yeah, I don't. I don't know a lot about charter schools.
But he's mentioning it. And then also, Inet Ken says he prefers his Chromebook over his tablet. He says, I do presentations with Google Docs on the Chromebook. He says he thinks he just uses his tablet for Pandora music.
I can't foresee, and I may be wrong at some point here, but I can't foresee a time where I'm not going to want this access to all these resources, because I do different things with computers, and I don't think everyone needs or wants to do all of the same thing with computers. The idea at one point that you wouldn't have all these things, was practically all lunacy. But you don't have to go that far back in the past, at least, not for guys like you and I, Craig, to remember a time when the idea of a desktop system was lunacy. You had, if you needed to use a computer, you had a terminal connected to a mainframe somewhere. And in some ways, we're sort of moving back that way. I know I use cloud storage extensively. I use Google Drive. I have, I even buy extended storage on Google Drive. Same thing with Dropbox. I buy extended storage on Dropbox, mostly because I don't like to have all my eggs in one basket. But these things are important to me. I have 50 gigabytes on Box, 100 gigabytes on Dropbox, and 100 gigabytes on Google Drive. That's not going away anytime soon. The convenience of being able to access those files from any device, from my, from a tablet, from my smartphone, is something that I can't really give up anytime soon.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, again, 347-884-8881. I'll get trying to get through. Of course, our chat room live. A lot of people in there making comments and suggestions. Love to hear from you. Please join us in the chat room. Are we going to get to that $9 computer system that runs Linux?
Let's get to the $9 computer system, because it's awesome. Well, I don't know. I just the idea is interesting. First of all, this is a Kickstarter, okay? This showed up as a Kickstarter, and I'll copy it into the chat room. I know you've got it in the show notes, but I'm going to copy it into the chat room so that people can have a look at it there if they want. And boom, there we go. This thing is called CHIP, C-H-I-P. I love the name right off the bat. This is a Kickstarter that started, I think on typical, it's like 45 days or something like that. So they started out looking for $50,000. That was their goal, okay? A $9 computer. Now, I won't tell you where it is at the moment. I won't tell you where it is right yet. The people who want to go and take a look at it can find out. But this is a little computer that actually runs Linux. As they point out, this little computer has a 1 gigahertz processor, 512 megabytes of RAM, 4 gigabytes of storage. Speaking of small local storage, it has Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and if you don't want to do anything else fancy, you can connect it to any number of adapters. It comes with a standard video adapter, so you can just hook it up to a television screen if you want. Now, what's interesting about this is, again, it's a $9 computer on a chip. It's tiny. It's small. It's like the size of a bulldog paperclip. It's smaller than a 3.5-inch diskette. It's this tiny little thing, and of course, you can load up LibreOffice on it, and surf the web with Chromium, and run any number of Linux applications, including games. I mean, it's a computer. You can run whatever you would run on a computer. But it's just this really, really cool idea of this little tiny computer on a chip that you can do pretty much anything you want with it, and it's cool. Now, here's another thing. Because it's essentially this raw little chip into which you can plug things. And by the way, it works as it is. You can just start plugging things and work with it. You can insert it into a whole bunch of other things. If you go and you take a look on the Kickstarter site, they'll show you things like all these different Linux applications. That's what they're saying. All these free applications on this $9 thing. The thing I really love about it is you can pair it with a 4.5-inch touchscreen and a physical external keyboard, and it's like $50 or something like this. So you can have this pocket computer with a touchscreen and an external keyboard for also next to nothing. It's just one of the coolest little projects I've seen in a long time. I pointed it out to a friend of mine, and I said, "You gonna get one of these things?" And of course, he wrote back, in a smart aleck sort of comment, "Well, if I can afford it."
Shouldn't be too much of a problem with that, but
$9.
I think one thing that leads a lot of Kickstarters to be very successful, of course, a great product to begin with, but also the different options that you can back it with. And I'm just looking at their options here. You can go anywhere from $9, which is obviously the very first one where you buy the computer, and then it goes up to up to $500 where you actually get like 10 of them and that kind of thing. I mean, just coming from a Kickstarter point of view, I mean, look at this one for $93. They've sold almost 3,000 of those, just because it comes with just like what you're talking about with the video adapters and the chip and all the cables. I mean, they have it packaged so nicely that people are just eating it up.
Oh, it's fantastic, and take a look at those numbers. Take a look at those numbers. They were looking for $50,000. Okay, they have 15 days to go on this Kickstarter. They have raised almost $1.6 million.
Seriously.
$1.6 million, and they were looking for $50,000 to do the. I just love this one. I love the idea of this little tiny computer on a chip that is actually useful, if you'll pardon the expression, not useful, pardon the expression, useful, sorry, out of the box is the, pardon the expression, $9 out of the box, it's already useful, you can already do things with it. That is just so cool, and it's so incredibly flexible in terms of the sorts of things that you might want to do with it, the places you might want to put this thing, the devices you might want to play with. From a hobbyist, and for people listening to this show, who like computers and like the idea of fiddling with computers, wow.
Yeah, I thought it would just be some kind of basic thing, but no, they have everything built into this. I mean, they have Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, all that kind of stuff, and I mean the specs. While nothing to write home about, it's impressive nonetheless. A 1 gigahertz processor, a good chunk of RAM, and some actual onboard storage. I mean, it's especially for like a student kind of thing. I mean, I could see how schools would totally get behind this as well.
Yeah, and of course, the pocket chip, which, like you were talking about all these price points. Is that I'm looking at one here, $64 or more. You get a pocket chip, which includes which is your pocket computer. It's the touch screen and the keyboard and so forth, and it comes with an HDMI adapter, with I don't know, this is just so cool. I just love the idea of, I mean, wearables are kind of cool. I like the idea that you carry this little computer with you that tracks you, that tracks your movements or your steps or whatever. I mean, I carry a Fitbit. I love my Fitbit. But, you can turn this thing to, like, countless purposes. I thought the Raspberry Pi was cool because, it's this little tiny computer and so forth. But this thing is just, this little $9 computer. It's just incredible amounts of awesome.
Right.
It really is.
And they're getting a lot of money to fund it too.
Yeah. Well, the delivery, unfortunately, is May 2016. So I'll have to wait till next year. That kind of sucks. I kind of like it today, but
Yeah, that's for some of them. I mean, the very basic one, just the chip. Though they're promising a delivery date of January 2016. So at the very beginning of the year,
yes.
Their most basic units will ship out at the beginning of 2016.
True. The pocket chips is the one I was looking at. That one's
Yeah.
May.
Yeah.
If you want the handheld computer, yes, that'll be May.
Yeah.
So if you're willing to wait for $9.
Oh, come on! No one's gonna say the pun we're all thinking.
What do we think?
What are we all thinking?
We're all thinking. It turns out it's true. You can't just have one chip.
Oh.
Thank you.
All right, come on.
I'll unfortunately be here all week.
There we go. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We needed that. Oh man.
That's all I got.
I don't know about you, but I've funded Kickstarters before, and it's hard to wait. But I got my Pebble watch, and I thought that was pretty awesome when it came. Despite the fact that you can get it for the original Pebble is now $89, whereas I spent $149 on the Kickstarter. But hey, it was a cool project, and it helped bring the project to life. Myself and the countless others who went for it. I've got a Scanadu tricorder. Sorry, go ahead.
We got the music playing. It means we're at the bottom of the hour.
Nope.
And we're going to continue on. We've got a News Tips Bulletin review from Marty Winson coming up as well. You listen to the Computer America Show on the Blog Talk Radio Network, on the IRN Radio Network. We will be right back. Stay with us. Looking for a best friend? Brother Wolf Animal Rescue has your best friend waiting just for you. The mission of Brother Wolf Animal Rescue is to help build a sustainable, no-kill community where no dogs or cats are ever killed for population control, where true euthanasia is reserved only for animals who are irremediably suffering, or for animals who are truly a threat to society and with no hope of rehabilitation. Brother Wolf staff and volunteers go door to door, neighborhood by neighborhood, to educate citizens about local resources available for at-risk pets and to help their families connect with those resources. Brother Wolf's community-based approach to no-kill helps keep family pets healthy, happy, and in their homes and out of the local shelter system in the first place. For more information or to make a tax-deductible donation to this wonderful 501c3 organization, visit their website at www.bwar.org. Help to realize Brother Wolf's vision when no animal is euthanized for lack of a home.
Who's a good boy?
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they're available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com.
Well, nice of you to show up again. It's Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, the Pocket Click Stick. The Pocket Click Stick from Thumbs Up turned out to be more interesting than we anticipated. It starts with a handle with a button on it, a rod that telescopes out, a spring-loaded bracket, and a plug that fits a handset's headset jack. You use the spring clamp to hold the handset in landscape mode, rotate the whole thing for portrait mode, bring up your camera app, and push the button on the stick to take a selfie. We love where the batteries go. They go away. It doesn't use batteries or Bluetooth, just the wire you plug in, and the collapsed gizmo is small enough to fit most pockets or purses. Bottom line, the Pocket Click Stick makes it a snap to snappier selfie snapshots. This is Marty Winston with a News Tips Bullet Review for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. Yep, we are closing out our Linux show tonight. Still a whole another half hour, so don't go anywhere just yet. But Marcel Gagné is continuing on with us, and we just got finished with a couple callers talking about this cool chip, this new chip that will obviously undoubtedly be running Windows 10, I'm sure, and it'll probably be running some form of Linux, right?
Yes, indeed. Yes,
okay.
Yes, we'll be running a flavor of Linux is everywhere, baby.
There you go.
It's in your cheeseburger.
and soon it could be everywhere, because with a computer this small, you'll never know what is computerized and what isn't. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's open source software. It's everywhere. But anyway, so I think it's an amazingly cool project. One of the there was another question, if you don't mind. I'd like to just, because I don't want to ignore the other question that was out there.
Sure.
Is that okay? Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. There was another question, which was OpenSSL, among others, has had a few black eyes recently. Do we need a different approach to developing these backbone type projects? With many eyes, all bugs are shallow doesn't seem to have worked in some of these. I would beg to differ. Yes, not everything is always caught, but the fact that it is available for review, for peer review, and so forth. It's a short answer, but it's Quan Lo who was asking that on Google Plus as well. I think is important. I think it's important that the more eyes are out there, the more eyes are available to look at these things, even though something may be missed somewhere along the way. Even if, let's face it, years can go by with a bug that's out there before somebody looks at it. I can't come up with an environment in which it's a bad thing that people can look at and fix security problems, without having to worry about litigation and so forth. It's a short answer, but I did want to answer that. Because I think it's important.
Yeah, we just a couple nights ago we talked about a story, or at least we had one in the queue. I don't think we actually talked about it on the show, so don't bother go looking for it. But it was one where routers, they apparently had some software that can be traced back to like the 90s, that like the very basics of a router that are still used today. The software can be traced back to the 90s, and there was a security flaw that left thousands upon thousands of different routers vulnerable to
I remember this
hacking. And it obviously wasn't open source, but I mean, open source wasn't to blame. You can't be perfect 100% of the time. You can just be as good as you can. But the whole point of this was, no matter how long it's been around or how many people have seen the code, you're never gonna catch everything. It's kind of like whack-a-mole. You gotta hit them as they come up.
That's right, and if somebody is, do you watch the show Elementary?
Yes, we have watched it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that show. But anyway, last night I was watching an episode where somebody had tapped into one of these transatlantic internet cable called Ruby in this case. And of course, they were trying to figure out, they weren't trying to sabotage it, they weren't trying to do anything with it. They were putting in this box which essentially captured the signals on one end and just sent the signals back out on the other end. I won't give away anything on the show. But
episode, yes. Okay.
Yeah, you did see that episode. Anyway, spoilers. It had to do with banking industry.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point is, if you look at something, if you are bound and determined to find your way through something, you are going to find your way through it. I mean, it is. I'm sorry to say it. It's inevitable. Somebody somewhere is going to find a way around it. It's always been a what's the way to put this? It's always been a battle between the forces of evil and the forces of good. The forces of good do something. The forces of evil say, hey, well, how can I subvert this? How can I get around this problem? And then they'll find a way, and then the only thing you can do is say, okay, well, they found a way to get around this. All it means is that there are a lot of clever people out there, and there's no way to imagine every conceivable imaginable scenario up front.
By the way, you mentioned Elementary. You ever watch Castle?
I love that show as well.
I recommend it to you. Okay.
Yeah, no, I love that show. I do. I love that show because, let's face it, he's everything every writer wants to be. Successful, rich. Come on.
Yeah. I actually binged watch it with my wife. We had because it's like 7 seasons now or so. So we watched it and kind of caught up to the current one. But yeah, it's a good show.
I love the show. So thank you. I actually do. Yes.
Okay. So
by the way, speaking of which, sorry, go ahead. Sorry, I'm interrupting. Please go ahead.
No, I was going to say I was going to move on to the next topic because I'm kind of interested in board games. Well,
actually, let's not go there quite yet because I want to talk about this since we're talking security.
Yeah.
Okay. And we brought this up, and then this last question sort of brings this up. Edward Snowden's Linux distribution.
Okay.
He has one?
All right. Well, it's the one that he uses. Okay.
Oh.
Yes. Edward Snowden has there's a Linux distribution. The Linux distribution that Edward Snowden uses. You remember this is a guy who probably has very good reason to worry about people eavesdropping. Like the NSA, for instance, and knows that despite the fact that all these precautions have been taken and so forth, security agencies had still managed to sort of insert themselves into various operating systems, networks, and so forth to essentially eavesdrop on pretty much everything that we do, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So there's a Linux distribution called Tails. And let me just insert this into the show note, or not the show notes, but there we go. Tails. This is a Linux distribution that runs off a DVD, USB, whatever, and so forth, and it's specifically designed to to allow you to roam the internet anonymously. It's the sort of thing that you can plug in somewhere and boot up off a system and then walk away and not leave any trace of the fact that you were ever on that system and so forth. So if you go to tails.boum.org, if you need something that you can, take with you, you're traveling around the world or something like that, and you want to connect to the internet and you want to make sure that you don't leave a trace after you disconnect, this is the Linux distribution for you.
Okay.
So I did want to put that one in there. Okay, I know you want to get at the games, but I want to talk about just because open is important in the Linux world.
Okay.
I love open. I mean, and open formats, open technologies, open source, open standards. If we are going to be able to access all our information in the future, we talked about this on the show as well, we need to make sure that they're formats that are completely open so that future generations don't have to say, well, geez, that was a closed DRM-enabled format. It's going to be really difficult to come up with a way to read this stuff. Crap, we don't want to do that. Everything must be open, and And one of the great evils against open is DRM, digital rights management. It's a curse. It's a pox on the
we should
world.
turn that into a curse word. We should definitely turn that into a curse word.
Yeah, DRM. Yeah, DRM. We need to turn that into a curse word. Instead of saying F, dash dash dash, you go DRM you. Anyway, so DRM is bad. We agree that DRM is bad. Okay, let's agree that DRM is bad. You remember? Do you have a Keurig coffee maker?
Yeah. We don't have the particular one I believe you're about to reference, but yes.
Yes. Well, the second generation of the Keurig coffee maker Keurig decided that they wanted to make sure that they would control the manufacture and sales, and of course licensing of coffee products that went in their machines. So they came up with a coffee cup that had a DRM on in the device, so that it had to read a particular code. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to get your coffee out of it.
Yes.
Okay, so you wouldn't be able to use your own coffee at home. You wouldn't be able to use coffee from a manufacturer that didn't go through them or didn't license through them and so forth. I think this was a really, really bad move.
Again, we're talking about coffee, not proprietary software. We're talking about coffee.
Yeah, we're talking about coffee. The real sort of evil side of that, of course, is that there's no good reason to do this other than to stifle competition. Okay, and I think that's at the heart of DRM pretty much everywhere. How do we make sure that monopolies are illegal? So how do we create a monopoly without breaking the law? I know, we'll engage DRM into our product, to make sure that nobody else can do anything with this. Anyway, it turns out that there was a huge backlash against Keurig, the most popular coffee maker, and the sales, were less than stellar for these new particular Keurigs. They thought that everybody would just get on board. Everybody didn't. Let's face it, somebody actually came up with a way to actually get around the DRM anyway, because somebody always does. It's not like we can't figure out a way around these things. Somebody will figure out a way around these things, which goes back to this question of always trying to stay one step ahead of the other people. But the CEO of Keurig has publicly admitted that this was a bad idea.
Yeah.
I know. They have publicly admitted that and have decided that they just aren't going to do that sort of thing anymore. And also in the DRM is bad thing, John Deere. You know what John Deere is?
Yes, tractor people.
Yes! It's a company that produces tractors and farm equipment and so forth. Well, they've put DRM in their tractors.
No way.
Yeah, they've decided that you can't.
Isn't that called a key, though? I mean, you just.
Here's the thing: if you own a tractor, if you're a farmer, okay, every farmer, if you'll pardon the expression, hacks their own equipment. Because they try to keep this stuff going for as long as they can, and they play with it and muck about with it and so forth. John Deere has decided that. They're going to employ DRM on the computer systems on board so that you're not allowed to touch or modify or do anything to a John Deere system without going through a John Deere dealer. Okay, to control everything having to do with a John Deere device. So in short, you do not own the tractor that you purchase.
That was the worst part about that whole instance was. Like they said, you don't technically own the software. You are. Their exact quote was something like, "You are purchasing the license to use it for the life of the tractor," or something like that.
Yes.
Like they're essentially they're loaning you the software after you purchased this $150,000 piece of equipment.
Yeah, and our friend Star Fortress there pointed out that they actually argued things like, well, you might try to rip a DVD, and break copyright. Like the argument that they came up with, on this was just insane. Anyway,
Yeah.
so DRM bad, but and I know this doesn't have specifically, anything to do with Linux, but man,
Well,
you know,
yeah, at least Linux. I mean, they really don't have DRM. I mean, they. I remember when we kind of lightly touched on this. I think somewhere either in Germany or somewhere in the UK, they had a court ruling that after you purchase, let's say, I think there it was more in the line of cars. If you can imagine like Toyota, if you went out and bought a car from Toyota and they said, oh, you can't touch you can't touch the engine of your car. We're just leasing that to you, but you own the rest of the car. The court ruling in Europe was after you purchase the vehicle, anything you do to it, that is your property from that point forward.
and that's the way it should be. I mean, I bought the damn thing. I should be able to do whatever I want with it.
Yeah.
There were attempts to say things like, by doing anything to it, you violate, and then they were waving the scepter, the specter rather, the scepter, the specter of DMCA, which of course says that if you don't agree with us on these things, then you are a felon. Let's really push this to the extreme. You're a felon. It's like, holy crap!
All good ways to get public opinion on your side.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because that's really going to work really, really well.
But to swing it back around to what you're saying, anything that withers in the sunlight, just being free, just being open and available to read, anything that withers in the sunlight probably shouldn't be, hidden behind closed doors anyways. Not, as someone who uses Windows full time, only dabbled in Linux for a couple weeks. What can I say? It was college. Crazy times were had by all, but I still am very supportive of open source software. It's definitely very, very important.
Aaron, our webmaster.
Yes, he is Linux crazy as well.
He's Linux crazy as well. Yeah, he does. He like it. Although he uses it, he uses everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Except Mac.
Okay. Did you know that there's even Linux powered rifles out there?
Yeah. What is that?
I only say this because I was looking at my it's like what else did I say I was going to talk about? Oh yes, in the news there's actually a company that called Tracking Point.
He uses to shoot Windows.
Yeah, they probably shoots out windows. Yes.
Okay.
This is a rifle that has this is a company called like I said, it's called Tracking Point, and they create.
Have a link you can post. I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, I'll post the link. I just want to say because there's a story on Extreme Tech. You can go and take a look at it. I just thought this was so much fun. I didn't want to let this one go by, especially since somebody said, well, what about all these eyes and so forth? Well, apparently having Linux on something is no guarantee of success, because in this case, I'm sorry, in this case they have a rifle that has a Linux-powered scope with tracking assistance, and so that even if you're a really crappy shot, and you don't know how to handle a rifle, this technology will basically give you a bullseye.
Wow.
Those ornery deer have no chance now. Thank goodness that the deer are finally being conquered. They have been at such an advantage after we invented gunpowder.
Yeah, because they were going to take over the cities, right?
Seriously.
Anyway, so this apparently though the company is having financial difficulties and looking at bankruptcy. It's just a weird story I wanted to toss out there because it was it was Linux related and it was funny. I'm sure it's not funny for the company that produces these Linux powered rifles, but I don't know, something about a Linux powered rifle. It's really?
To me, there was that whole argument about letting I think it was like NASCAR and I want to say like track car. One of the other racing events, like the big ones. there's a reason they don't let people with automatic gear shifts in those in those races. There has to be some level of skill still involved in that. And when you have something like this, at what point does it stop being hunting and a sport and turn into I'm gonna go kill something today? Like there's no skill left in it.
And that's true too. I mean, since we talk about TV shows an awful lot on this show. I don't know what it is, but Arrow, the
TV show.
Yeah, it's a great TV show, Arrow. There was this guy, Deadeye, who was an assassin, who had a special implant in his eye that essentially, I mean, he was a crack shot anyway, but the implant made sure that he never missed.
Ben loves.
What's that? And it runs Linux, yes.
Yeah, Ben loves that show. Okay.
Not so much. Go ahead.
It's a great show, but it was the same thing there. It's like he had this implant that was it no longer requires any skill whatsoever. You go out hunting and it's like I'm just gonna set up the rifle. I'm gonna have some kind of an AI that waits for something to go by and pulls the trigger as soon as the deer goes by. Anyway, yes. So the company is going bankrupt apparently.
Yeah. Well, I mean, eventually it stops being a sport, and it's just I'm going on a hike, and I'll be back with a deer carcass. That's I don't know. Good story, Marcel. Good story. I like that one.
I like it too, and of course I'm in a country that only has so much of a love affair with guns, but there you go. I want you're gonna hate me for this, Craig, but because I know you're dying to go to this other topic, but I just wanted to. I've been looking at a lot of instant messaging clients lately.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I'm really hot on this whole multi-platform sort of thing. And of course, I'm really big on the idea of a secure instant messaging client. When there are things that you just kind of want to be between you and the person you're communicating with, And so, and instant messaging sometimes is like, I'm chatting with friends, tossing stuff back and forth. It's not that important. Every once in a while, you want to send, a private picture that, you don't want anybody else having a look at. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
but the problem there, of course, is you want to be able to communicate with absolutely everyone. So I get excited whenever I find something that is truly cross-platform. That will work. Get this, that will work on your BlackBerry. That will work on your desktop, through a web browser as a desktop application. That will work on Mac OS. That will work on Android. That will work on that will work on Linux. Okay, you can have it work on Windows phones, on iPads and iPhones, and so forth. When you've got that kind of cross-platform, and you've got some kind of and it's useful, like a secure instant messaging client. I kind of want to cover it a little bit. I ran into this thing because I had a client who was saying, I'm looking for a cross-platform but secure instant messaging client. We have sensitive data in our company, and we want to be able to send messages back and forth, but we don't want this tracked and so forth.
Uh-huh.
Telegram. Have you ever heard of Telegram?
Yes, Western Union. Dun, 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 dun.
Telegram.org. I want to spread the word on this one because I think it's kind of cool.
Right.
And if it's not, just for the intense, amazing cross-platforminess of this thing, okay? Telegram is an instant messaging client that lets you connect to, you can do group chats, you can send pretty much any type of document that you can imagine, you can send, private pictures and so forth. You can encrypt the communication between you, end-to-end encryption that doesn't require a server in between to handle the end-to-end encryption, okay? So that it's completely secret. You can also set up messages that have a self-destruct timer on it.
Well, that's
So that you send something and it just disappears after a few seconds or a few minutes or whatever, whatever makes sense. Like those embarrassing pictures I was talking about.
yeah.
So
Well, Marcel, we'd love to go on. I wish we had a third hour, but we're pretty much out of time. What can I tell you? You know.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I love it. You know, I'd be taking over the show, and that's great. You know, so I love it. You know, you're. Don't you just hate to guess when you ask them questions? Go yes, no. Maybe. You know, it's like pulling teeth. You know,
it's the wine. It's the wine talking. What can I tell you?
Have more then, because
well, we need to have the wine back. The wine is wonderful.
The wine is wonderful. Have you back some more? We love it. Absolutely love it. Everybody in the chat room loves you and thinks you're doing a great job. And I have posted all the.
I love them all too. I'd like to bundle them up in a little, you know, in a comfy little blanket and take them home with.
Well, of course, you know, you'll be back on with us again. It's always the third Thursday of the month, and so you'll be back with us again in June. You're scheduled to be on the 18th of June. You'll be on with us, so we're looking forward to that.
You know what I like about Thursday? Thursday is Thor's Day.
Thor's Day is exactly.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's Thor's Day.
Thor's Day.
See, I'm back to the Avengers. You notice how I pulled this right back to the beginning of the show?
Yeah, full circle, exactly. Well, Marcel, again, thank you so much for being here with us. Again, you can we have a link to Marcel's website on our new website at computeramerica.com. All you have to do is go under the our main menu there, and you can see
90 seconds.
You can see a link. We have a link there. It's just it says show staff and friends. We have a direct link to Marcel Gagné's website, and we encourage all of you to enjoy it. It's there. Coming up on tomorrow night's show, what do we got? We've got Gold Butler. This is cool. This is a chat service that you just type it in what you want to do. You know, bring me food,
60
whatever,
seconds.
and it'll do it. It's just very cool.
It won't even backtalk you. It won't say, why do I have to now? Like, it'll do it right away.
And then in the second hour, a company called ChatSim. Basically, this is it gives instant messaging on your smartphone to anybody, anywhere in the world. It's just a really incredible technological development. And we're going to have the business development director for ChatSim going to be on the show in the second hour. That about wraps it up. Again, thanks, Marcel Gagné, for being with us here tonight. Stay with us to the end of the show. And Ben and I will see you same time, same station, tomorrow night here on Computer America. So until tomorrow night, this is Craig Crossman, hoping that your hard disk never becomes floppy. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Good night, everyone.
Goodbye.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
All right.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you all for watching us. We're still on our live streaming video. We've got lots of you still watching, and thanks for being here on our All Linux show. Marcel, thanks you. Ben, thanks you. I thank you, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow night. Same bat time, same bat station.
Channel.
Exactly. Take care, everybody. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.